We have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. This is your Week 5 2024 prediction and preview video. Hit subscribe if you're new. Also hit the like button. The Steelers are the home team, so let's start off with them. This is a bit of an interesting matchup. This is an old school rivalry if you watch football back in the 80s and the 90s as well. But when you look at the Steelers last week, it was a tough loss against the Indianapolis Colts. Their offense was slow to start the game. And you can't have that in the game against the Dallas Cowboys because they would take advantage of that. The Steelers offense has started out slow in every single game except for the Denver Broncos game. Last week, Justin Fields did have some fumbles. One was in question. He was down, but the referees said it was a fumble anyway. But Justin Fields on the day was 22 of 34, 312 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions. He also had 55 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Justin Fields did not play bad last week. But the problem is this. The Indianapolis Colts made the Steelers get out of their element. They had to play from behind. And the Steelers have done that in the past, but they had a very huge lead. The Steelers were down 17-3 at a point in time in this game. And when I look at the Steelers, they're at their best when they can run the football and they can pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. Similar to the Dallas Cowboys in terms of pinning their ears back and getting to the quarterback. But more on the Cowboys in the next couple of minutes. The Steelers in this game, they have to try to run the football. Cordell Patterson is questionable for this game. He was able to go out there and give them a lot of juice last week against the Colts. The problem is this. Najee Harris is a very good running back in terms of physicality, but he doesn't have the explosive speed to get going in space. You can't have Justin Fields be the leading rusher in back-to-back weeks. You're just asking for trouble. And the Dallas Cowboys defense is beat up. They're banged up. But they're riding high of what they did last week to the New York Giants. They did a very good job of stopping the run. So they have to get creative with their run calls. Their offensive line with the Steelers, they're beat up as well. James Daniels, their top right guard, who was a top graded center in the NFL for the last 4 weeks, he tore his Achilles. He's going to miss this game. Troy Fautanu is going to miss the rest of the season, dealing with a knee injury. You still have Broderick Jones, but pay attention to the interior of the offensive line. That is where the Steelers love to run the football. And I know a lot of people like to joke about the Dallas Cowboys. They have some very good defensive players. And you have Maji Smith as well, who has played solid against the run in the past. He's been up and down. So far, he's been a bust. But last week, he did a lot of good things against the run. So be on lookout for his matchup in the interior of the offensive line. You also have George Pickens, who had a fumble in the red zone last week as well, but he's still their leading wide receiver. 7 catches for 113 receiving yards. Pay attention to him when he goes against Trayvon Diggs, because if you're not careful, Trayvon Diggs can't get an interception. He can bait Justin Fields, and next thing you know, he has breakaway speed to go out there and turn that to a pick six. So be very wary of that as well. You look at Big Pat, 57 receiving yards last week, 1 receiving touchdown. They have to give Darnell Washington the football more. He had 20 yards on a huge play, and they did not give him the football ever again in the game. Get him going. Run a 2 tight end set. Get George Pickens the football. Other wide receivers are going to have to step up. When you look at a guy like Calvin Austin, had a big play against the Chargers that went for 55 receiving yards. Only had 1 catch for 17 yards last week. Cordell Patterson is that dual threat. We'll see if he's able to play in this game. They're really going to need some more running backs in that backfield, because if they don't have Cordell Patterson or Jaylen Warren, you're putting more stress on Najee Harris's body. Najee Harris also had 54 receiving yards last week. So find receiving options besides Big Pat and also George Pickens as well. This could be a very good bounce back game for the Steelers, but in the same light, this could be a very tough loss as well, just like how things were going in last week's game. Now, last week, the offense did get off to a slow start, like I mentioned before, but their defense, what the hell happened? They had one of the best defenses in the NFL up to this point. Jonathan Taylor ran all around them. Now, I understand the Dallas Cowboys, they're struggling to run the football right now, but Rico, he has some breakaway speed, and Ezekiel Elliott can get you 2 to 3 yards when it's 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3. So be careful with that. The Dallas Cowboys have not ran the football very well, but look at what happened against the Cleveland Browns. If that defense can get to Justin Fields and they can start to just chew away and dink and dunk their way down the field, the Steelers could be in trouble if they try to use time possession against the Steelers. But when I look at the Steelers defense, TJ Watt did little to nothing last week, and that's rare. He has to go out there and put a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott, and the same with Nick Herbig as well. They're going to be without Alex Highsmith, but they have good players in the defense. They have to get going. When I look at the secondary with the Steelers, I am concerned. because you're going to have Joey Porter Jr. matched up with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is a route technician. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He is a big play guy at any given time. We saw that last week against the New York Giants, that touchdown that went early in the game. If you're not careful with him, and you're going to get a bunch of holding penalties, the Dallas Cowboys will continue to target that in their secondary. So they have to play cleaner football. You also have to be on the lookout for Minkah Fitzpatrick as well, because not only do they have a guy and CeeDee Lamb, they have a speedster in Brandon Cooks and also Jake Ferguson as well. So be on the lookout for that. But the Steelers defense has returned to what they did the first 3 weeks of the regular season. Get after the quarterback, stop the run, and force other options besides Jake Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb to beat you over the top. And be on the lookout for Brandon Cooks. The Steelers secondary in the past has given up a lot of big plays here and there. Look at what happened against the Denver Broncos late in the game. They did come away with some interceptions in the red zone. Look at what happened against the Atlanta Falcons. They got some big plays of Darnell Mooney because he's a speed wide receiver. Then we go and see what happened last week. If they can't put pressure on Dak Prescott, he's going to go out there. He's going to pick apart this defense. And I do like the defensive players that they have. But be on the lookout for that Joey Porter Jr. and CeeDee Lamb matchup. You also have Dante Jackson as well. Be on the lookout to see if he can match up very well with Brandon Cooks. That's going to be a fun one as well. Patrick Queen has to be better. He missed some tackles last week, and the same with the Landon Roberts. But they have good defensive linemen with Keanu Benton and Cameron Hayward that can go out there and really just put a lot of pressure in the run game and stop the run. Now let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys side of things. Last week was a tough week, but they came out with a win. A win is a win. The defense stepped up. They beat the New York Giants 20-15. Anytime you're forcing teams to go out there and kick field goals, that's amazing, no matter who the team is. So I would give the defense some credit. But just like the Steelers, Cowboys dealing with a lot of injuries. No DeMarcus Lawrence this game. No Micah Parsons. That sucks. Their defense was already struggling the first 3 weeks of the season without having those guys in the game. And they did do well in week 1 against the Cleveland Browns. They got to Deshaun Watson a lot of times. But in terms of stopping the run since that game, they've struggled. But they bounced back very good last week. It's going to be very interesting to see if they can get pass rushers on Justin Fields. You have to stop the run game of the Steelers. Go all out if you have to. I have a lot of faith in the secondary of the Cowboys with Trayvon Diggs. They will not give up big splash plays here and there. They should. And they haven't done it this entire season. What has done the Dallas Cowboys in is the run game and the play action. When Rashid Shaheed had a huge play, it came off of play action. You have to be careful with that as well. Put the safeties back because George Pickens can't take over the game. But you have to put your best cornerback and Trayvon Diggs on him. They're still waiting for Deron Bland to come back, who was also a pick-six goon in his own right. Kalen Carson, a rookie. Last week, he missed the game, dealing with a shoulder injury. We'll see if he's able to play in this game. Hasn't had the best rookie season, but he's not supposed to be in this spot to begin with. I just have a lot of doubts about the Dallas Cowboys right now in that run defense without Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. But be on the lookout with Marshawn Nealon, Eric Kendricks, and Damon Clark, and also DeMarvion Overshown. All those guys can go out there and be very good tacklers, but they have to meet at the point of attack. The Steelers love to run the football up the middle of the field. So Mozzie Smith has to go out there and he has to have another big game and has to have another big outing like how he had last week against the New York Giants. And be on the lookout for Jordan Lewis and those safeties in that secondary as well to try to go out there and do a lot of design looks to basically try to confuse Justin Fields. But you have to keep Justin Fields inside the pocket. Do not let him beat you with his legs. Last week, we saw what he was able to do against the Indianapolis Colts. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. This is a kid that has a similar skill set to Lamar Jackson. You do not want to see the same thing happen in this game. As far as the offense for the Dallas Cowboys, they're having a tough time running the football. And unfortunately for them, they're going against one of the best defensive fronts in the NFL. But I think you can revert things back. The New England Patriots, they had problems running the football with Tom Brady here and there, but they would dink and dunk their way down the field. You can still use CeeDee Lamb as a deep threat, and the same with Brandon Cooks, but use Rico more as a receiving threat out of the backfield and run the football with Ezekiel Elliott in short yardage situations. They have to stay on schedule, and the same with the Steelers as well, but more so with the Cowboys. Brandon Cooks has to step up. And he took some time to get integrated in the system last year as well. His first big game came against the Los Angeles Rams when he had 2 receiving touchdowns. Be on lookout for him in this game. He has to give you something, because if your only weapons are going to be CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson, that's a recipe for disaster, because then the Steelers will take both of those guys away like they have done in the past. We saw them do an amazing job on Cortland Sutton in the Denver Broncos game. They're very good at isolating one wide receiver, and they'll just put a guy like Patrick Queen on Jake Ferguson the entire game and will make life tough on the Cowboys. And the offensive line has to do a better job as well. The pass rush last week from the New York Giants was a bit concerning, because now you're going against one of the best defensive players in the NFL in TJ Watt. If you can't keep him at bay, you can't keep him out of Dak Prescott's face, you're going to be in trouble. So the key of emphasis here is try to run the football, but don't force it. Dink and dunk your way down the field and make more adjustments on the fly against this defense of the Steelers. You can also try to run sideline to sideline. That has been tough, because they have a bunch of athletic linebackers, especially in the interior of their defense. You just have to go out there and just try to match their intensity up front and try to match their aggression, and find other weapons besides CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson to beat these guys over top. Also, be on the lookout for Jalen Tolbert, and also for a guy in this game as well, and Kevontae Turpin, who is a very good speedy receiver in his own right. The Dallas Cowboys were in a very interesting matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. They tried to play from behind, just like the Steelers. Both of these teams have similar philosophies on the defensive end. They want their offenses to go out there, take care of the football, so their defense can go and pin their ears back. But the problem is this: the Cowboys are missing some of their best defensive players. And when I look at the Steelers, they're missing their second best pass rusher. With that being said, the Steelers have home field advantage. They were mounting a comeback last week. The Dallas Cowboys right now, they're struggling to run the football. And the more times you put the football in the air, especially against the Steelers team, you're going to be in trouble. This is going to be a close, physical football game, but I do have the Steelers winning this game 20-17. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this game, the Steelers or the Dallas Cowboys? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.